Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am super excited for today's video because I am doing the eyeshadow wardrobe tag. This was started by Charlotte Holkoff and Morgan Turner. If you do not know who they are, I'm going to have their videos linked in my description box below. Definitely check them out. Huge credit to them for this tag because I think it is such a wonderful idea. If you guys are new to my channel, hello, I am Suzana and all we do here is talk about makeup. I would love for you to subscribe and follow me on Instagram so we can keep the conversations going on products that I mention. So this wardrobe eyeshadow tag is pretty much talking about eyeshadows that we would select for special occasions. So occasions like a graduation, date night, a wedding, so things like that. So I already scoured through all my eyeshadow palettes going down this list. I think everything was pretty easy for me except when it came to two categories, more so one than the other. Of course, I will explain that more in detail once we get to that portion. So let's just go ahead and get started. Now, the first category says wedding or guest to a wedding. So I'm assuming it could be for a bridal or, like I said, the guest to the wedding. So I'm selecting this new palette. This is one of my newest ones in my collection, and it's actually from Dior. This is the Tutu palette. What's funny is that I've had a few people ask me if I would select this one versus the soft cashmere, and to one of my subscribers, I specifically told her, think about the Tutu palette as the perfect eyeshadow palette for a bride. So of course I had to pick this one. This one is cool tone, but it's got those beautiful, almost purpley, mauve-y, pinkish shade. It's got this beautiful lilac shade here as well. I think this offers those classic eyeshadows that never get dated, that just look beautiful on the eyes. And I just think it's this really beautiful, non-complicated palettes. The shadows in here are also very non-complicated. They can apply pretty sheer, but you can always build up the intensity, but not in a way that it builds up too much where it starts to look muddy or just starts to look even too dark. So that's why for me this is perfect for bridal makeup. I used to do bridal makeup several years back, and I feel like this color story is of course not going to be suited for everybody, but in my opinion I think it'll look really good on a bride, and I would also wear it to someone's wedding because I think that just helps create a really classic look. It's very elegant. I mean, the palette itself is very elegant, but you can create a beautiful, elegant look with this, as well as a soft, smoky eye as well, because I know as a bride, at least when I was a bride, I wanted a smoky look. I totally dislike the way my makeup was done for my wedding, but overall I have an idea of what it should look like, and those are just colors that I would reach for a lot. Especially cool tone eyeshadows on brides I think look really beautiful. It's nothing too flashy, and the eyeshadows available to us in this little palette are just perfect to enhance the eyes and just make them look very beautiful and timeless, for your pictures to last you forever and ever, and for you to just love your makeup. All those things just apply for a bride as well as a guest. The next category is date night, and every time I think about date night, I always think smoky and sultry, always. So the first palette that came to mind, and I mean I just think this is the perfect palette for me when I think about date night, is Honeymoon from Tom Ford. I think this is just gorgeous. First of all, it's my favorite formula from Tom Ford. It is wet to dry formula. I always just use them dry, but the color story in here is just perfect for a sultry look. All you really need to do is add some black eyeliner on your top lashes, smudge it out a little bit. The same thing in the bottom lashes, tons of mascara, and oh my gosh, you would have the sexiest eyes ever. And that's just always what I think when it comes to date nights. My husband and I are very chill, so it's not like if we really do that type of date night all that often, but that's kind of what comes to mind when I think date nights, and this is the eyeshadow palette I would absolutely reach for. Very easy to work with. The eyeshadows in here perform very well, and these deeper tones down here just look so beautiful on the eyes. I'm obsessed with this palette. It's for sure my favorite eyeshadow quad from Tom Ford, and it is my favorite date night eyeshadow palette as well. Next we have girls' night, and every time I think about girls' night, I think of a fun night out. So when I think fun, my eyeshadow palette has to be a little fun. So I went ahead and selected Mercury Retrograde from Huda Beauty. This is actually what I'm wearing on my eyes today. I had not pulled this guy out in quite some time, but this palette is gorgeous. It is a very girly palette. So again, I just think girls' night with this. I feel like it is very fun. It just immediately puts me in a good mood when I see this palette. I think because it is my type of colorful palette, these colors I can totally work with. I mean, these two up here are a little bit more intimidating for me, but other than that, everything else in this palette I find to be very wearable, especially for a night out with my gals. And yeah, it just kind of sets the mood for me. Immediately puts me in a good mood. It gets me excited to go out with my girlfriends, have a little bit of shimmer on my lids, and just go out, have some fun, dance maybe, have a drink or two with them, lots of laughs. So this eyeshadow palette I think is just perfect for girls' night, for a fun night out. So yeah, I had to mention that Mercury Retrograde, and I'm so happy I pulled it out because I got to use it again today. And I love the look I created with this. I always am happy with the look I create with that palette. And like I said, it just really sets the tone for me. And number 4 is vacation. And this is what stresses me out the most when I am traveling, is deciding what makeup to take with me, because I am not at all logical. I start thinking about the most random, worst case scenario things, and I start applying it to why I'm packing, and it's just the most ridiculous thing ever. So for example, one thing that crosses my mind is, what if this is the last vacation I take? What if something happens while I'm out there? I'm over here wearing eyeshadow that I settled on because it's so convenient when I could have just taken what I wanted to take, and then this way, at least the last time I applied my makeup, I was very happy with the eyeshadow that I'm wearing, or whatever it may be. I just always think about random things like that. And then of course I think about, what if my stuff gets stolen? What if my luggage gets lost? Then all my good makeup is in there. What am I gonna do? I mean, repurchase it, of course, but like just like things that people, I mean, normal people just don't think about. I always think about dumb things like that only when it comes to packing my makeup. Like, I'm not like that with anything else. So I made a selection that I feel is very practical, and hopefully this is what I end up taking with me, because my husband and I are gonna take a little vacation in a few weeks. So I don't know if I will end up taking it with me, but this is without a doubt the perfect palette to travel with. And it is this palette from Urban Decay called Born to Run. This has all of the eyeshadows you can possibly need when you're on vacation. We get different formulas, and everything here performs really well. This is without a doubt one of Urban Decay's best eyeshadow palettes that they've ever released, because from what I've worked with in this palette, and I've actually used several of these shades, none of them have been a dud. They perform super well, and I mean, they're just beautiful. And so like I said, you pretty much do get everything that you need in one palette. It's very hard for me to actually commit to just taking one palette with me on any type of vacation. It doesn't even matter how long I'm traveling for. But at the end of the day, really, this is all I would need, and I would feel a lot more comfortable with a palette like this because I have a variety. And that is what I need in my life at all times, is variety, different things to select from. So this is why I picked this palette. It is also very sturdy, and it's also got a really nice size mirror to use while getting ready. Really no complaints on this palette at all. I just think it is the perfect go-to vacation palette that I have in my collection, without a doubt. It is a very reliable palette, and it's just beautiful. So number 5 is Graduation. And let me tell you guys, I can play with color, but I'm very selective with how I use like eyeshadow in color. Like this, I'm comfortable with. It's just my personal preference to keep it a little bit more neutral during the day. However, Graduation to me is a celebration. I want my makeup to get in on the fun, and a color I really do like to play with a lot, especially for my eyes, is pink. So I pulled out my Love palette from NATASHA DENONA. And for me, this is the perfect graduation palette because these colors will pop. You know, graduation, you're wearing your cap and gown. I don't want anything that's just too subdued. I definitely would want my eye makeup to be popping, just like add some brightness to my face. And this to me is the perfect palette for that. Again, I want to play up my eyes because it is a celebration. And since the cap and gown kind of take away, you have to have some really nice shoes and a really beautiful eye look, in my opinion. So definitely this. I mean, NATASHA DENONA, you cannot go wrong with using any of her palettes for any occasion. They're just so fun and the formula is also very good. They're long lasting, very pigmented. So yep, graduation, the Love palette from NATASHA DENONA. Really have to have some fun with it, so something that stands out is key to me. Number 6, we have Christmas, and this was super easy for me because I've actually taken this back home with me 2 Christmases in a row to wear for Christmas. I always think about gold. I love gold because I think it pairs really well with the 2 most known Christmas colors, which are red and green. So gold paired with either one of those or both, I think is just perfect. So I ended up pulling out another NATASHA DENONA palette, and this is her gold palette. One of my favorites from her because these shades, and I have not used these in a while. I definitely need to use this again. This palette is just the perfect eyeshadow palette for Christmas. Now I know all of us that celebrate Christmas, we celebrate it a little bit differently. In my family, we always get together on Christmas Eve and we stay past midnight, which is when we all yell out Merry Christmas and give each other a hug and a kiss. But because we get together at night, the night before, we all kind of try to get really dressed up, get a little glam. I mean, nothing too crazy because we are at my mom's house, like in her kitchen and living room, so nothing too crazy. But of course, you play up our outfits a little bit more, do our hair, do our makeup really nice and fancy. I'm of course always trying to do my makeup really nice and fancy, although a lot of the times I end up doing somebody else's makeup, so I end up with less time to get ready myself. But that's just how it is, and I don't mind it because I love doing other people's makeup. But yeah, this palette is what I use. You have the perfect shades. Even these shades up here are just perfect for Christmas. Like, how is that not? So beautiful. Now, I am somebody that tries to go a little bit against the grain when it comes to being so like predictable with makeup and a holiday. So that's why I always think more, I mean, I don't really feel like a gold eyelid is all that original for a Christmas look, but I do try to steer away from the greens and the reds. Although when it comes down to it, for some reason, I end up doing it. So I have worn this with a red lip and it looks gorgeous. It pairs so beautiful. And again, that's another night where we take a lot of pictures and I want my eyes to pop. I want my eyes to also join in on the party and be a little bit festive. So this palette is just perfect for that. I actually need to leave this one out because I need to use it and give it some love. And I'm sure I'm gonna end up taking it back home with me this Christmas because that is just my Christmas palette. I feel like it's tradition with me, my eyes, and my palette. Always the NATASHA DENONA Gold palette. The next category is birthday party, and I took this as my own birthday party. I'm not really somebody that throws myself birthday parties all that much, although this year my husband and I were planning on going back to Chicago, that's where we're from, to celebrate my birthday. And because it had been so long since we've been back with everything that we've all been dealing with lately, I had told him that I actually wanted to throw a party. We had thought about maybe even renting out a place to have all of our friends and family get together and just have this big celebration. This year I am having kind of a bigger birthday, so I wanted to actually celebrate it. Like I said, it's not really something that I do all that often. I don't really even talk about my birthday all that often, but this year is a little bit different for me. Obviously, plans had to be changed. Right now, Chicago does not want people from Utah unless we quarantine for 14 days. And because I do work, I cannot be out there for 14 days just stuck in my mom's house the whole time. So my husband and I decided to do something else. But if I would have gone through with those plans, this is the palette I'm pretty sure I would have taken with me to wear for my birthday party. It would have been a hassle to travel with this, but I've done it before and I will do it again. And it is the Pat McGrath Mothership Bronze Seduction palette. Her palettes are just the perfect for an actual special occasion. Honestly, these eyeshadows are just so beautiful. You cannot go wrong with any of her palettes. Of course, if the shades intrigue you, because I know they're expensive. But this is the packaging, very beautiful, very weighty. So there are a few reasons why this is not travel friendly, but I just put it in my big purse that I usually carry with me when I'm traveling. I wrap it up with bubble wrap and I make room for it, okay? I will make room for my makeup because that is like, this is just what I enjoy the most. So why wouldn't I? I don't know. I know it sounds ridiculous to a lot of people. But anyway, this is the palette and I just love it. This was my first true love with Pat McGrath. I had already had a few of her 12 pan palettes. Oh, these are 10 pans. I think I was saying 12 before in my other video. Sorry, 10 pan palette. Because the colors I think just work so well for me and my type of style. So when I do want to do something more fun with the eyes, add these special toppers, this is what makes these palettes. I mean, look at that. So that is for sure birthday party vibes. Now, if it was like my nephew's birthday party, I would not wear this. But for myself, absolutely. Love these special shades I just showed you guys. These mattes work so well. So I can create a beautiful smoky eye and then just tap it with one of these. I don't know, it just screams party to me, like those last 4 shades especially, that this would just be the palette I would work with. I think most of these 10 pan palettes from Pat McGrath would work really well for an adult birthday party. I was about to say for anybody's, but again, not if it was like a child's birthday party. Now for that, I would probably have to go with something a lot more subtle, totally opposite of what that Bronze Seduction palette is. But again, I was taking it as if it were my own birthday party. Next category is office. Now, immediately when I think about office makeup, my brain wants to convince me to go for a palette that's all matte, something that in all reality is a little bit more boring, and that's just not really me. I do like a matte eye, but to actually pick a palette for the office because it's matte, I refuse to. I don't know what it is about it. I don't want to. So I ended up picking up this one because I actually work in an office. Well, now I'm working from home, but I would go into an office to work. And this is actually a palette that I would wear quite frequently to the office. I actually also wear this for my interview and it just brings me good luck because I also wore it to the interview where I got the promotion that I ended up getting. So I always think about my job when I see this palette or talk about this palette. And it's another Tom Ford palette and this is Nude Dip. I like this because it adds a little something to the eyes without it being too eye-catching. It's another kind of soft palette. These eyeshadows are really pretty, but they don't get too dark on the eyes. Once you kind of start blending this one out, it doesn't look as intense as you may see it there on the swatch, but you can build it up if you want to add a little bit more depthness, but you're not really going to get that much darkness out of that. So for me, this is just a really safe palette that looks really nice for the office. It's a really beautiful daytime palette as well. And then you can kind of play it up too to create a night look out of this. So really easy to work with. And that's why I wanted to pick this palette because to me, it's a little bit more fun than just an all matte palette, but it's nothing too out there. For the most part, I did stick to just eyeshadows like this that look nice. I feel comfortable in it. I feel confident in it. And I just think it's the perfect work appropriate little palette that everybody should have in their collection. Number 9 is an eyeshadow palette that you would go to for an everyday look or for your errands. And this is the one that I had the hardest time selecting. And I feel like I settled a little bit, not so much to take away from the palette because I mean, I'm showing you guys this palette because I do really enjoy it, but I typically go for a single eyeshadow when I'm in a rush or when I want a real simple like everyday look. Single eyeshadows are just always my go-to. I've talked about it several times in my videos, but when it comes to an eyeshadow palette, I really was having a difficult time choosing one because a lot of the times I'll have one eyeshadow or maybe 2 from a specific palette that I know, okay, this will be my go-to. I'll just pick up one of these palettes, just select a color that I feel like it's more wearable or just really easy to just apply really quick on the lids and then go on about my day. So that's really the only time that I actually use a palette for that purpose, because like I said, otherwise I'm just using a single shadow. But this palette that I selected, I do think is perfect because of the tones as well as the finishes. And this is from ILIA. It is the Warm Nude, the Necessary Eyeshadow Palette. So, oops. So you do get 2 shimmery shades, and then the other 4 eyeshadows in here are matte. So in this case, the one that I would probably use the most is this one right here, just because of the tone. But I like using these as well sometimes. Sometimes I'm just in the mood for a darker eye. I don't care where I'm going. As long as I'm able to blend it out really easily, quickly, and almost get some sheerness with it. If I don't pick up too much color from these, I get that type of eye look that I really enjoy in no time. And then if I do want to add a little bit of brightness in the inner corner or on the lids, just with my finger, I can apply any one of those 2 shimmery shades. Beautiful, real quick eye look that you can get using this palette. And because you only get 6 eyeshadows in here, there's not all that much to really think about. Usually when I do pick up this palette, I only end up using 2 shades, at most 3, but typically 2. So this is why I felt like from my collection, I was most comfortable talking about this palette as being my go-to everyday, on the go, have an errand to go run real quick, but I want to look a little bit more put together type of eyeshadow palette. I just think it is perfect for that. I was just having an issue because I could not get away from my single eyeshadows that I guess I just really want to share with you guys. I really need to do a video where I show you guys all of my single eyeshadows. Lastly, for number 10, we have New Year's. So the New Year palette that I selected is actually the same one that Charlotte picked, and really for the same reasons. It is the Pat McGrath Mothership 1 Subliminal Eyeshadow Palette. And this one, yeah, it just screams New Year's to me because this is a cool tone palette, which I feel like is quite appropriate for New Year's. It is right in the middle of winter. I think silvers and platinum shades are the most worn for New Year's. I do not like how those shades look on my eyes. They always end up looking very tired after a little bit. They're just not shades that really suit me. So grays like this are perfect. And then we have this shade right here that's one of the special shades that you can see. It has some purple in it, it has some blue, it's very metallic-y, and this is the type of eyeshadow that if I'm actually somebody that, you know, went out for New Year's, I would really like this all over the lid. Then it also has this really fun blue eyeshadow. How pretty is that? Oh, and then this other special shade as well. This one has a lot of white in it, so I would only use this more as a light topper, maybe for the inner corner, not too sure. That's not really a shade that I use all that much from this palette, to tell you guys the truth. But to work any of these, again, creating that really beautiful smoky eye look and then using this over top, or even that blue shade, or even this one right here, if that is a shade that you like, I think it's just perfect. This shade right here is also very beautiful. And yeah, for me, my taste and what I like in makeup for New Year's, this is definitely the perfect eyeshadow palette. Alright guys, that is it as far as today's video. Those are all the palettes that I would use for those special occasions that we just went through. If you like this video, please make sure to give me a thumbs up. And while you're there, do not forget to hit subscribe so you do not miss out on any of my future videos. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Until next time.